So I have to pick up Kathy today from her conference that she was at here down here in the City of Richmond. So I thought I'd go check out some old haunts of mine while I'm waiting for her. So right here where the Panera, Chipotle, and Cava is a place where I was supposed to go see my first show down here. It's with Inquisition. And I was supposed to come with a friend of mine. She got a job. And we couldn't make it. And that certainly wasn't here. And that building wasn't here when I used to hang out here. It was at a place called the Biograph, which I'm surprised I didn't mention in the video. But it was at a place called the Biograph, and the Biograph had a lot of lives in its existence. And it wasn't too long after that show, that Inquisition show that I was supposed to go to, that the Biograph shut down. And then it just sat there empty. I think every now and then they would throw on like a Rocky Horror thing. But for the most part, Biograph was done. Just kind of sad. And now, of course, it's Chipotle and Panera. And VCU's trying to turn it into a Main Street college campus. Anyway. You know what I'm saying? Nor was any of this. None of this was here when we used to hang out down here. Incredible. Wow. It has been a long time since I walked on the street, and we did not have sidewalks like this to walk on. Strange Matter is where what used to be Twisters. God, I don't know what happened to Panda Express that used to be next to it. Anyway, Strange Matter used to be Twisters, and we used to hang out there. I've probably seen 100 plus shows in there. And if it was still Twisters, I'd probably go see 100 more. I don't even know Strange Matter is. We used to go to the Village Cafe all the time. I saw a Dirt Woman in there at the bar. He once said something to me. I can't remember what Dirt said to me because I didn't really hear it. But he was sitting at the bar and I walked in. He said something to me and I just kept on walking. And I think all of us that used to go to Twisters used to remember being told not to park here at the Community Pride because they used to tow cars. And without fail, every time we go to a show, they would come over the PA and say, if you're parked in the Community Pride, they're towing cars. Go move your car. The ramen spot there used to be Subway. We used to go get some subs before shows. Right there, what is now Oh Mochi. Used to be a bar called Chuggers that my brother worked at. They didn't have a lot of shows there. Every now and then they would. We, of course, hung out there a lot. And it's right across the street from Ginter, one of Louis Ginter's houses. I believe it's Louis Ginter. Don't quote me. I can't remember. Saw Q and Not You twice on VCU's campus. Once at this little church that I thought was over here on Franklin. But I can't seem to find it. And I don't know if it's been eaten up by massive VCU buildings or not. I can't seem to find it. All these houses used to belong to those Gilded Age tycoons. And then VCU moved in. And they all became VCU buildings. But they used to be houses during the Gilded Age. You know, Louis Ginter and those type of people lived in these places, among others. I mean, they're amazing buildings. Just kind of wish there were still houses. Can you imagine that as a single family house in Richmond? Holy elements. But it was. Wow. Look at that. Just incredible. police. Oh my gosh, everything's changed. This thing we used to line up right out of here. When I saw Jimmy World, we went that way. Stage is right there. There's a payphone right here where this VCU parking thing is. And that's where I saw Jimmy making phone calls. We used to park in this lot. Used to park in this lot and load in around the back here. I'm not gonna walk back there. Load in right back there. Man, those were the days. Before my time, the VCU police over there, that used to be a place called, shoot, Westgate, Eastgate Prison? Eastgate Prison. Eastgate was way before my time though. And they used to have all kinds of shows in there and long neck beers from whenever it really cheap. But that was before my time. Saw a few shows there in that building. It's got dumplings. It used to be called the Hole in the Wall. And I saw a few shows in there. For a long time they didn't have shows, then they had shows again. Then they didn't have shows. Then I guess now they're a dumpling place. That's how it goes, right? I saw a lot of bands at what's Strange Matter, what we called, well, what was called Twisters when we used to go. I mean, and there were plenty of other bands that I'd love to have seen there that played there. Inquisition, Avail. You know, but I didn't see but I mean, probably the biggest band that I saw at Twisters had to be Jimmy Eat World. This was right around the time Clarity came out. Gosh, I even have a playlist on my Apple Music of all the songs that they played that night, because I found a set list online. And I mean, I saw Saul there, My Beloved Impossibles, Blue Line Medic. God, at the drive-in, who later became Mars Volta and Sparta, you know. Who else did we see there? I mean, just everybody. That was where we hung out. We saw everybody there. Snapcase, Saves the Day, Blake 77, Stink Palm, Submerge, Lazy Cane. I can go on and name them all day long. Pilfers. Went to ska shows, went to punk shows, went to hardcore shows. We spent a lot of time there, and some of the funnest nights, you know, we would leave and the goth crew would be rolling in, and it'd be like a cloud of darkness waiting for you outside of the club, and we always used to be like, oh, how does it feel to be dead, folks? And you know, that was Twisters. We loved it, or I loved it, even though it was horrible. Again, this is a common theme. Woodstock 99. I loved it, but it was terrible. Yeah, that was Twisters, man. That was the spot. I wish I had gotten to see the Biograph. I remember it standing there empty for the longest time. And like I said, I was supposed to go to a show there, supposed to see Inquisition, never got to see Inquisition. It wasn't long after that show that Inquisition called it quits and Strike Anywhere started up. That's where we used to hang out, and it sure didn't look like it does now. Holy moly. I've only been to Strange Matter once, and that was for that Dan Duggins, who was the drummer for Lazy Cane. It was was his one of their benefit shows, one of the benefit shows for him. Gosh, like I said, I've been to 100 shows there. I wish I could go to 100 more. Another place that was kind of before my time, but during my time down here, was the Moondance Saloon. They didn't have much of the music that I was into playing there. They were here at the time, somewhere in here. It's just weird. This whole thing is just weird now. We used to drink a lot right there at Rosie O'Connelly's. I mean, you used to drive on this road. This used to be a road you could drive on. But down there is where we spent a lot of time. This is Walnut Alley. Doesn't smell like I remember. It used to smell like beer and pee. It smells a little bit better now. Old cobblestones on the road, you know. Right here in this building. So this is the old Alley Cats. We used to go to shows here all the time. All the time. I used to spend a lot of time at the Dead Nights on Tuesday nights. And they would play Grateful Dead music from like 9 o'clock until way early at 2 o'clock in the morning. Whew. And then I'd get up and go to work. Drive home 30 minutes. Then go to work the next day. Oh, Alley Cats. I miss you. You were a fun place to be. Spent a lot of time at McCormick's Irish Pub. Saw a couple of shows in the upstairs. And mostly, we would just drink there before going to Alley Cats. And we used to see, anytime Against Me was in town, they would be in there. And we'd go drink with Against Me, the folks in Against Me. And in most of these bars and stuff down here, it like came and went. They were always something different, but it was always something we weren't into. We were just into the punk rock. This one bloody hurts. This used to be the Flood Zone. So if you were a bigger band than what could play at Twisters and Alley Cats, you come here to the Flood Zone. And I saw Everclear, Real Big Fish, I don't know, a bunch of other bands here. That's Flood Zone. And then the Flood Zone closed and became a Have a Nice Day Cafe. And that was terrible. And now it's a loft. The Cooper Lofts. Really? I mean, and the stage was back here. This was a load-in door. Man, that's a heartbreaker. Love the Flood Zone. Miss it a lot. Think about it a lot. One night when I was having Ice Day Cafe, we hid behind that building and used a water balloon slingshot to launch water balloons at people waiting in line to get in and have a nice day. And that was a lot of fun. Not very smart, but fun. You know you're in the old part of Richmond when you see the cobblestones and the tracks running down the street. Of course, these were all old warehouses and such. Of course, right here beside Bottoms Up is the Canal Club. And if you've ever seen Hannibal, I'll show you the backside of the building. The only show I can remember, I know we saw more than one show in this place, but the only one I really remember is Keller Williams. He would loop himself over and over again and play over his loops. That's the only show I remember. I know we saw more, but the only one I really remember is Keller Williams. So this side of the building was used in the movie Hannibal. This was set up like a big market. And it's I think it's the opening scene of the movie. This is all like a marketplace Julianne Moore is waiting to arrest somebody that comes out of this building. They had a staircase built. It's like around here where that thing is. They probably covered up that thing. And a door, which was about right here. And the people that she was trying to arrest came out of that door and started walking through the market. That was right here. That was Hannibal. Old Main Street Station. It stinks down here. It's really funky. Again, this whole Shotgo Bottom has completely changed from what I remember. They're like, there's people walking around everywhere. It's weird. It's daylight. And people are walking around out here and doing things and running and exercising, and they seem content and not scared, and it's weird. Like I don't even know what to think. I feel like I left Richmond 12 years ago, and Richmond completely changed. God, Richmond used to be about the music. Now it's like just weird. There's another spot up here we used to go to. I'll probably pass it. But it's now the Capitol Ale House Richmond Music Hall. But before, it was just where the Capitol Ale House is. And it was a place called Fireballs. And that was one of our last places we would go before calling it a night. We would always stroll in there about 1 o'clock in the morning. Just enough time to get a beer and then leave. And then sometimes they used to have shows there too. I can remember catching the end of this band called Rocket 69. I can remember catching the end of one of their shows. And of course, I just saw the Dismemberment Plan there a couple months ago. But, you know, I'm talking about history. History is a show going down here. The British Embassy Fish and Chips. What the flip-flop? Why wouldn't you just go to Penny Lane? Jeez. Or even Rosie O'Connelly's. I don't know. Anyway, Richmond. Man. Times they are changing, I guess. So if I wasn't going to shows in Richmond, the other thing I often did in Richmond, and I would come look for history, and the places I would go were cemeteries. One of the places, of course, that I like to dig around in. Doesn't sound right? When I'm talking about cemeteries, dig around in, is here at St. John's Church. And if you don't know St. John's Church, that's where Patrick Henry gave his famous "Give me liberty or give me death" speech. And there are some notable graves here. I'll show you a couple. So if you follow around to the left side of the church here, you can see Eliza Poe. It's Edgar Allan Poe's mother. She's buried right here, they think. Pretty sure. To the mother of Edgar Allan Poe, Elizabeth Arnold, born in England 1737, died in Richmond 1911. Or 1811, sorry. The actor of talent is poor at heart indeed. If you do not look with contempt upon the mediocrity even of a king, the writer of this article is himself the son of an actress, has invariably made it his boast, and no earl was ever prouder of his earldom than he of the descent from a woman who, although well-born, hesitated not to consecrate the drama, her brief career of genius of beauty. Poe in the Broadway Journal, July 19th, 1845. Another notable burial here. George Wythe, signer of the Declaration of Independence, teacher of Jefferson and John Marshall. And then I was just told, because I've never been able to find his grave, that his grave is not marked. There's a man named James Callender who is also buried in the cemetery. And James Callender is kind of infamous. He spilled the beans about Alexander Hamilton's affair. He also spilled the beans on Jefferson and Sally Hemings. And his grave, which would be to the north, so somewhere in this section, he met his untimely end in the James River. After a night of drinking, his body was discovered face down in the river in about 3 feet of water. And he was buried here somewhere. I always love this "Do you need a biscuit" ad of Simon's Clothing. So I guess that's going to do it for the day. I appreciate you coming along as always. We'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that other stuff. And when I say subscribe, it doesn't cost anything. You just hit that subscribe button that's on the YouTube page, and you're subscribed. And it just lets you know that there's a new video available to watch. I try to put one out every Friday. I know I tried to subscribe to something on Facebook this morning, and it was going to cost me $1 and some change for I don't even know what am I going to subscribe to? I don't know. But YouTube doesn't charge anything. You can subscribe for free, and all it does is alert you that there's a new video available for you to watch. So anyway, thanks again for watching. We really appreciate it. See you on the next one. See ya. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll drop some links to some history about Twisters and Richmond and all kinds of stuff down below in the video description, so you can check it out for yourself. Thanks. Bye.